All right, class. We're picking up almost where we left off last time. Um, as you can see here, let me take away the pencil sketch over the top. As you can see here on the demo that I'm doing, I've done a little bit more work on the sand, the desert here. Basically smoothing out some lines using a fairly large brush. Added a little bit of a highlight over here on some of the hills, and and if you look closely, there is a little bit of texture that's brought in here. Okay, now where some of this is broken up, that's where the figures are going to be. And you can see I've also deviated from the pencil sketch a little bit, just trying to keep it loose. Um, and you know, that's fine if you want to do that. I actually haven't been referencing the original photograph all that much, um, as I work, just because I don't think it's necessary. I don't want this to be, a photorealistic thing. Okay, I want to have it look good, but it doesn't have to look exactly like the photograph. As a matter of fact, I prefer it not. I want it to look like a painting. Okay, so this is all smoothed out through here. What I need to do now is, as you can see here, I've started to add a little bit of texture through here, and this is in the sand in the foreground. Okay, now how you do that is actually pretty easy. Um, if you click on your paintbrush tool, okay, you've got your standard issue brushes, right? Typically, what I've been using to smooth out a lot of this stuff is a soft round. I've just been kind of going over the edges and smoothing out some spots where the blending brush didn't quite do it. Okay, now along with, I believe it's along with Adobe Photoshop, you have dry media brushes. Okay, I'm pretty sure that those are if they don't come with Adobe Photoshop. I think they're available through through the Adobe website. I'm pretty sure they come with it though. And what I've been using is one of these dry media brushes. Okay, you can see it's right up here for quick access. Your most recent brushes are right up here at the top. But I've been using this chunky charcoal one. Okay, this one right here is, if you want to take a good look at it, is fairly solid, not too bad. But I've been using this one right here. Okay, and the thing is about this brush though is that you have to make it pretty big for it to actually be useful. Okay, and the thing is too with this brush is that you don't want to just hold your pen down and move it. You want to just kind of tap it. Okay, especially if you're trying to get a texture of sand. Okay, so I'm going to be using this in the foreground primarily. Um, it's at 152. Okay, and as you can see here, every time I tap it, it turns around. Okay, so I'm going to actually back up a little bit. I got a little heavy-handed with that first little line there. So let's put it right there. Okay, and I'll just lightly sort of just kind of tap out little dots here and there, soften the edges a little bit. Actually, let's see if it'll let us. And so you just want to gently do that. You don't have to be too much. I want to get a little bit of texture in there, but not too much. Actually, let's take the size down just a touch. Zoom in a little bit further. You zoom in a little bit closer, it'll kind of let you see better what it is that you're doing. And notice too how every time I tap it, the brush turns around so it deviates from the pattern. Do it a little more quickly on the edge, less so on the inside. And we don't want it to go too far back in here because optically it would smooth out anyway. Actually, I think I've got some back here that I probably need to get rid of, smooth those out. But this is just, like I said, this is a brush that is readily available. It should be with the kit. All right, further back I go, smaller I want the brush to be. I can add texture back in here, but it's smaller. And so what you want to do is you want to, something like this, adding texture. It's going to take a while, but you know, it's actually kind of worth it. Kind of soften up those edges and stuff. You don't want to take away at all from the actual pattern of the sand that's been blown into these lines. You don't want to pull that away. We just want to soften up the edges a little bit. I noticed in the reference photo that you could see the actual grains a little bit. So you want to keep that kind of a feel going on. And if you get a little overspray in some spots, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just kind of popping them in anywhere I go. And the thing is about that too, it's this works okay for like maybe just start playing around, popping it in here and there. Doesn't take all of your attention or anything like that. Not like some parts do. Anyway, let's zoom out a little bit here. So we're kind of softening up those edges a little bit. You can just and from when you zoom out, you can hardly see it, but I really think it's worth it to to make sure that there's some texture to the sand. Now I'm going to pause this momentarily while I continue on with some of this, just patting in some of those grains of sand, and I'll turn this back on when I'm ready to do the next thing. Okay, now back at it. Now, as you can see here, I've gone ahead and used that charcoal brush to kind of soften up these edges and give them a little bit of a textural feeling. I need to still go through and add a little bit more texture. Now the thing is about that though, this time what I'm going to do, however, is I need to add a little bit of light texture. Okay, along the ridges. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this color right here, and let's just lighten that up. I want to lighten it more toward the white side. I'm thinking almost along this color here, but maybe not quite as bright. Maybe right about there. So instead of going down toward the gray, or up more, where it's a little more saturated, you head more toward the white, and that ought to do it. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's see how our charcoal brush does if we use that. Oh, you know what I probably ought to do too, though? Let's put that on a new layer and maybe take the opacity down a little bit. Yeah, right about there. Trying to get it at 60. There we go. And let's see what that does. Okay, that's not too bad. That's a little thick right there, but we can erase a little bit of that away if we want to. Oops. Let's make sure we have the natural edge. I forgot I was using that earlier. All right. something like that. Okay, that's not too bad. So I'll go ahead and put along the edges along here where I think I might need them a little bit. And then I can use my my eraser that also has kind of a rough edge to it, a natural edge to it, to kind of blot some of that away. Some nice highlights and stuff here. Okay. Want a little bit of a shine to it. We don't want too much. Let's take that opacity down just a little bit further. There we go. That's better. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're adding just a touch of a lighter area, giving just a little bit of three-dimensionality to our sand ridges. Actually, I'm not crazy about that. Let's use the same. Oops, sorry. Thought I had my eraser tool set. Let's try using the same one for the eraser. See how that goes. So we got eraser. Oh, look at that. Doesn't want. I could have swore I had that set on eraser. Yeah. Okay. Seems to want to automatically set it to my paintbrush. Huh. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't let me do that. That's interesting. Okay. I thought maybe I could. You know, there are some brushes that are specifically paint brushes, and this must be one of them. Okay, but I guess I'll just use this one here. Seems to work all right though. I just need to tighten up some of those edges. Not a big deal. All right. Now you're probably wondering why it is that I felt the need to put this all on a new layer. Well, the reason for that is because I wasn't sure exactly starting in. Um, I wasn't sure exactly how bright I wanted this. So having it on a separate layer gives me a little more leeway, you know, which is a good thing. And in addition, if I decide that I need it to show a little bit more, I can always go in and change that. This is almost like a stippling effect with this kind of a brush. Nice little edge there. Eraser tool. Clean that up a little bit. That too. And this way too, when I'm cleaning up the edges of the highlights, I'm not affecting the sandy sort of gradient at all. Not a gradient, but this sort of granular thing that I have going on with the sand. Okay, so yeah, that's giving a little more three-dimensional sort of a feel to it. Okay, now when you get really close in here, let me just say, you know, don't worry too much about you know, details and stuff, because this thing is pretty huge. This is 22 inches across, so um, it should look just fine because we're zoomed in pretty close right here. Um, it feels like we're zoomed in pretty close. We're actually 50%, but you get the idea. Bring out those edges, nice, sharp. Like that. Now, the thing is about this, I don't think I need to have a lot of highlights through the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I think that might look a little goofy, so I'm just going to have these pretty much in the foreground because it's just a little bit of detail. I need to fix that spot right there. There's a spot. Blending brush. Oh, wrong layer. There. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about working in Photoshop. You can easily maneuver between stuff. So if you see something you miss, you can go back in and fix it without having to repaint a whole section. That's a lot of the convenience of digital painting. All right, let's go back in, pull out some of these edges here, tighten those up. Okay, let's throw some in this side over here. Again, don't want to go back too far with these things. Making sure still to tap so my brush keeps turning around rather than just letting it drag. If I let it drag, it'll be kind of it'll stay in one position and just make kind of a, well, just kind of like a, well, sort of a rough edged line. And I'm using this for texture. So I don't want that. All right, let's go clean up that a little bit. Edges on that. Edges on that. Got nice and thin there. So you want to think about the dimensionality of these ridges. These are little ridges of sand. That's where the light areas are, and the dark areas are little rivulets. Okay. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. Okay. Now, the next part, I would guess, since I want to do the whole background first, it'd probably be to do this black hole here. Okay. Now that's going to be tricky, and it's probably going to require a different kind of a brush than what I've been using so far. Now just in the meantime, let's just sample this color right here. Okay. And we can use whatever kind of brush we want to start painting in the basic color here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with just a typical soft round brush. Okay. It's got a nice round edge to it. As you can see here, very nice. Let's go ahead and merge that layer with the ground plane, the former layer. I'm going to create a new layer now, and we'll just call this black hole right there. Now this one's at 100%, so start laying in some color. Now this this part, I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably not going to use a blender brush. I'm probably just going to use a fairly large soft brush, you know, except for where I want the details and things. It looks pretty much white right around there. Let's sample this edge here. A little bit lighter through there. Make my brush a little bit smaller. I'll start adding a little bit of stuff around the edges here. Let's follow the pencil line. Now notice too that I've got that I've got the pressure sensitivity set. That means that when I can make a really thin line by pressing very lightly, or if I really want to max things out, I just press a little bit harder. So you can have a pretty nice variance of the line here. Now let's see. That's pretty light around there. So this is a light blue. I'm going to go ahead and snap on some white here. And we're going to, oh, that's a little too bright. Let's make it a little more, something like that maybe. Yeah, it's too purple. Let's see if I can actually get a good, decent sample off of this thing. Okay, that still looks pretty white though. Okay. Need a bigger brush. All right. Now, one thing I want to remember too is that I've got a lot of background color coming through here from the blue of the sky. So I want to be aware of that. Yeah, there we go. As a matter of fact, if I turn the blue sky off, what do I have? Oh, just white. Okay. That's okay. Take that right out of the edges there. Then let's go back in with this and make sure we've got actual color in there and not just the blue of the sky. Using a very light stroke for a lot of this. Every once in a while, though, you'll have you might have your brush kind of catch on something like it did right there. And that's not a big deal. It's an easy fix. There. Again, notice that I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to the actual source picture because I really would prefer this to be sort of my own take on a black hole. All right, so let's turn the pencils off for a little bit. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool. Okay, so we'll just keep sampling colors and popping those in. Right now, I'm not sure if this is going to be an area of white or not. Actually, I think it's probably going to be more like a purple or a pink. But I can always, we want that little bit of background color there. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, we're starting to veer out more toward that white goes out quite a ways, yeah. So I think we'd start getting into more of this yellowish white. Trying to click on it where I have some variation because it's actually really subtle. Let's use that, and let's actually, yeah, it's in the red zone there, but let's just go a little bit deeper. There we go. I think that would probably work better. Yeah, maybe that's a little too much. Yeah, see that looks white, but it's got a little bit of a pink cast to it, and that should work. I mean, look at where it is next to that white. Let me take away the pencils. You can see it's got a little bit of a peach, a little bit warmer there. So we can use very minor color variations to do what we want. Okay, let's see. It's almost blue of the sky there. Start adding some little undulations in here that I noticed on the original. Let's pop over to this. Let's use this right here. A little variation on it. Now it looks like some of the sky you can see coming through there, through some of this, so we want to keep that. Let's switch back over to our kind of pinkish tone here. And sort of follow my pencil lines. Now let's see. Okay, it's starting to look like something. All right. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time, much like all the other parts. So we're almost at a half an hour right here. We're at 27 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start, going to keep working through this and, probably do the next video when I'm ready to start doing the figures. Okay, you can see here though that we're just by using this isn't even a special effect brush, just using like a large soft brush, you can start, actually airbrushing in almost, something that is gonna, I think it's gonna look pretty cool one of these days. Okay. Um, yeah, so I'll sign off right here, and I'll uh, I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit when I have the rest of this black hole painted. All right. I will talk to you later.